As an effective goal scorer, I would say Rasmus Hojlund is already better than Darwin Núñez at Liverpool, Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal, Eddie Nketiah at Arsenal, Richarlison at Tottenham, and Callum Wilson at Newcastle. So this is episode 4 of Football's Going Home. I'm Ryan Walker, and today we need to talk about Rasmus Hojlund.
Get his shot away, comes to Rasmus Hojlund! Hojlund into the penalty area, moves it onto his right foot, Hojlund! Rasmus Hojlund!
Now we're here walking down the Munich Tunnel, which is one of our regular filming spots down at Old Trafford. And the reason I want to talk about Rasmus Hojlund is because he is on absolute fire at the minute. He's got 7 goals in 6 consecutive Premier League games. He's the youngest ever player in Premier League history to score in 6 consecutive Premier League games at the age of 21. Now, he moved from Atalanta for £72 million in the summer. Of course, massive fee for an unproven talent. And we'll talk about a little bit more about kind of the clubs that he's moved around in such a short period of time before arriving at United. Now, he's got 13 goals in all competitions during his debut season. That is 7 Premier League, 5 in Champions League, and 1 in the FA Cup. I wouldn't say he's cracked it yet in the Premier League as a top striker, but I'd say he's on the way there and he's starting to show his potential, which is really all you can ask for. Now, as we mentioned there, he's kind of scored in 6 consecutive Premier League games, youngest ever player to do that. It doesn't mean that he's this world-class talent, but I think it's starting to show that he can be this world-class talent, and that's exactly what United need. They need a striker that is going to lead their line, and these strikers are going to be clinical, and they need a striker that wants to be a striker. Sounds a bit odd, because why wouldn't someone want to be a striker? Why wouldn't someone score goals? But Marcus Rashford is probably the person that we've had to rely on most in recent times for goals, and he's not even a striker. He doesn't want to be a striker. He wants to be playing off the left wing. Hojlund loves that position. Hojlund's making it his own, and let's touch on a little bit why I think Rasmus Hojlund can be United's next great striker. We're here under the Stretford end, inside today, because as you can see, the weather is absolutely atrocious in Manchester. And I want to talk a little bit of how Rasmus Hojlund came to be the player that he is today. Now, you probably all know that he's born in Denmark, born in Copenhagen, he's starved the Danish national team already. But what you might not know is just how turbulent his career has been so far, at just the age of 21 years old. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of history on Hojlund. He started off as a youngster in Brøndby in Denmark. That is a club that, if you're familiar with European football, you might know is kind of harnessed a few potential talents over the years. But after kind of starting there, he got snapped up by Copenhagen's academy. Now, Copenhagen is the biggest team in Denmark. No disrespect to other teams there, but they are, and they usually snatch up a lot of the young talents. Hojlund and his 2 brothers joined their academy. In fact, Hojlund's 2 brothers are still part of Copenhagen's team. Now, he made his Copenhagen debut at the age of 17 in 2021. You think 17, you probably think a long time ago, but it's not. He's still incredibly young, Hojlund. He only just celebrated his 21st birthday. Now, 2021 he made his debut, then he made his Europa Conference League debut later that year, and Hojlund was starting to kind of be on the register of some other teams. And it was at that stage that actually an Austrian side, Sturm Graz, snapped him up in 2022. Now, Sturm Graz, they're not a very well-known club by a lot of us. Some of us that maybe work in football, you might have heard of them a bit more, but he didn't last long there. 8 months later, after impressing at Sturm Graz, Hojlund was snapped up by Atalanta in Serie A, and they decided to go big on his potential. The difference is that it was only just over a year then at Atalanta before he was then moved to Manchester United, where he's here at Old Trafford, our top striker. And in the space of 3 years, that means he's gone from making his debut at Copenhagen to becoming the main central figure in Manchester United's team. That's 4 clubs in 3 years as a professional. Some players don't ever play for 4 clubs. Hojlund's already done it at the age of just 21 years age. And I think this is really important because people say, he should already be hitting the heights. He should already be scoring goals because he's got such a big price tag. The price tag's kind of irrelevant. That's what you pay nowadays, especially for an upcoming striker. But the reason it's really important is because that has been such a turbulent beginning that he's had to his professional career as a striker. 4 clubs in 3 years, that means he's not been settled with a manager, not been settled with a system, not been settled with teammates, and actually, most importantly, not been settled in the place that he's living and playing football. Anyone will tell you that in any job, whether you're a footballer, whether you're a journalist, whether you're an accountant, no matter what job you do, if you're not settled in your surroundings, you're never going to be at your best. and constantly being shipped on is a big thing that's probably limited Hojlund a little bit. And now he's at Manchester United. He's been here since the summer. It's still not long, but he's starting to feel settled, and he's on a long-term contract here as well. So you'd like to think that he's not going to go anywhere, and he can now reach the potential that he's meant to. The concern for some Man United fans might be that, okay, is his track record mean that actually when he starts scoring even more goals that another club's going to come in for him? You can never say never, but Hojlund is a Manchester United fan. He's supported him since he was a boy, and in his own words, he's living the dream at Old Trafford. So I don't think he's going anywhere yet. But that's where he came from. That's his upbringing. And actually, he's doing really, really well here at Manchester United. I'm not, say I'm biased, but I think the general consensus around all different critics was that Hojlund was showing the potential. Sorry, Hojlund looked like a player that could be a brilliant talent in the future. It's just a matter of when, not if, I think. Who's he going to be like as a Manchester United striker? Well, you could probably say that you look at the different strikers they've had. The last out-and-out striker that United had was Cristiano Ronaldo all those years ago. Just got to put my head up here while we step outside. Cristiano Ronaldo 2 seasons ago. It didn't work with him. I love Ronaldo, but it just didn't work with him. Before that, you actually have to go all the way back to Romelu Lukaku when we had the last striker, and it didn't work with him either. Lukaku had a couple of good seasons here, then moved to Inter Milan, won the Scudetto, and then it's kind of petered out since. Actually, he's on loan at Roma still from Chelsea after flopping miserably at Stamford Bridge. If I was going to compare Rasmus Hojlund to any type of strikers at Manchester United, I'd probably have to say he's a cross between showing signs. I don't mean he's the exact type of player, because I don't think people need to get carried away. He's a cross between the goal scoring hunger and central figure that Ruud van Nistelrooy was, but also kind of wanting to get involved with playmaking like Wayne Rooney did. It's not a bad partnership to be a part of, is it? So Rasmus Hojlund, his upbringing's been turbulent. Now he's here at United. And finally, we have a striker that's scoring goals. Outside the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, and the next thing I want to touch on with Rasmus Hojlund is the players that I believe he's already better than in the Premier League, and this is the strikers that he's better than. Now, it's subjective, okay? I might say he's better than this player, and people might sit back and argue with me. I'm sure a lot of Liverpool fans will with what I have to say, but really doesn't matter too much what they say, does it? I'm going to have to look at my notebook here because I've had to make some notes on different strikers and the stats and how Rasmus Hojlund compares to them. Now, as an effective goal scorer, I would say Rasmus Hojlund is already better than Darwin Núñez at Liverpool, Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal, Eddie Nketiah at Arsenal, Richarlison at Tottenham, and Callum Wilson at Newcastle. It's quite a list that he's making an impact on already. And actually, when I say that, people might sit there and say, bias United support, they always think the players are the best, blah, 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 blah. But when you actually look at the stats, he has a real good case for this actually being factual. Now, I'm going to read out the stats of those other strikers that I've just mentioned at their clubs this season, and not just in the Premier League, but on the whole and the goals they've scored in the games that they've played. So, Darwin Núñez has scored 13 goals in all competitions across 37 games. Gabriel Jesus, yes, he's added injury problems, but I think even Arsenal supporters will agree that he is not the goal scorer that team needs. That's why they were so heavily interested in Ivan Toney across January, and they'll probably make a move from him in the summer. So Gabriel Jesus, 8 goals in all competitions, played 23 games. Eddie Nketiah, his replacement, 6 goals in all competitions, 30 games. Richarlison, Tottenham's main striker after Harry Kane left, he's been very, very inconsistent. 11 goals in all competitions across 25 games. And then Callum Wilson, the Newcastle centre-forward, 8 goals in all competitions, 22 games. Hojlund, 13 goals in all competitions, and he's played in 30 games for Manchester United this season. So he scored the same amount of goals as Núñez, and he's played 7 games less than the Liverpool striker. Now, don't forget as well, Hojlund was absolutely starved of chances this season for the first half of the season by United. They didn't have a settled front three. You had the likes of Anthony coming in, Garnacho coming in, Amad Diallo. There was talks of people wanting to see him play. Facundo Pellistri would play at times. Jadon Sancho before he got told to go away and he's not playing for Manchester United again. Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford. Now you have the settled front three of Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho and Rasmus Hojlund. And finally, he's getting the chances that he needs. It's not all the time. They still need to play to his strengths a little bit more. But he's ended that goal drought, that 15-game goal drought for a Premier League goal, He's on fire at the minute, and I have to say, I have no problem saying that he's better than those strikers, and he's only going to get better as well. So if you don't agree with me, then, you know, it's a subjective opinion, but I think the stats back it up. Hojlund is going to be one of the Premier League's next big strikers. To finish off, I want to talk about whether Rasmus Hojlund's form and the potential for growth that he's shown means that Manchester United don't need to invest in a striker any time. Now, what I would say is they need to invest in a lot of other areas first as a priority. Probably mainly central defence should have to feel, also the fullback areas. There's also an argument for shipping out some midfielders and bringing in some better quality midfielders as well. But his form doesn't mean that United don't need to bring in a striker. What it does mean is a different type of striker that they'd look to bring in. So Anthony Martial is going to be leaving Old Trafford in the summer. His contract's expired, and I think all United fans are happy that it's not getting an extension. I think it's long overdue that he left the club. What it does mean for Hojlund is that he's going to be that central figure. Now, when Anthony Martial leaves, he's going to be the only recognised striker. So if he gets an injury, then it's a massive, massive disaster for United. And hopefully that doesn't happen to him, but you know, you can't say that it won't, regardless of the age. He's already struggled with some injury problems this season. But what I mean is the type of striker that they bring in is, last summer United were chasing Harry Kane. They ended up with Rasmus Hojlund because they wanted this big, high-profile striker that could come and score goals. Now Hojlund's showing form, they actually need a striker that can support him. It's probably a little bit more experienced and isn't going to mind sitting on the bench at times and being that secondary striker, but can also be relied upon to score goals. I know it's quite a mixture that United really need, don't they? But that's the situation they're in. So what type of strikers could you bring in? You probably have the likes of Thomas Muller at Bayern Munich off the top of my head, Robert Lewandowski at Barcelona off the top of my head. And then also even like Karim Benzema at Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia. He's another possible option. Someone of that ilk that is experienced enough to score goals no matter where they are, but doesn't mind not being the main central focus of the team, because that's Hojlund's position now. So that's United's transfer market business. They won't be moving Harry Kane. They shouldn't be moving Harry Kane, because then you're telling Hojlund he's not good enough to lead the line, which I think he's showing he is good enough. And yeah, that's our report on Rasmus Hojlund. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a different episode. We're trying to do different things every week. If you agree with what I say, don't agree with what I say about Rasmus Hojlund, please let me know in the comments below. Give this video a like, and we'll see you next time on Football's Going Home.